Our talk tonight is on trust and communication in the virtual world. I'm Shelly.
I'm Carlos.
I'm Andrew.
And I'm Joe.
We're going to start tonight with just a real short video. Go ahead.
Stop worrying about what people think of you. When you're under pressure, people go through one of two mindsets of trying to get their message across, at the same time worrying, what are they going to think? Am I going to be good enough? Are they going to like what I'm going to say? Am I confident? One of the great destroyers of people's ability to communicate straight is that they're worried about what are they going to think? They think I'm okay. All this worry about whether people like you or not is going to destroy your ability to talk straight. The challenge you're going to have is how do I get my message across clearly and confidently and try to quiet that little part of me that's always saying, make sure you say this or don't stuff it up. The key here is to focus on the message, not the emotion. Understand that you're going to feel something in your body. Try to acknowledge the fact that, okay, everyone's got nerves and that's okay. Focus on what you have to say. In martial arts, they akin this to one of two different things. Focus on the strike, but also watch how you do it. In fact, look at the emotional response when you're striking. So they say, get the technique right, but get your mind and your emotions calm so you can do it without being dissuaded from different directions. Under pressure, understand that your emotions are going to affect the way in which you speak, the rate at which you talk, the tone at which you say things, and how well you can remember things as well. When you're stressed and anxious and uptight because this little voice in the back of your head is saying, make sure you don't get it wrong, are you good enough for this, don't stuff this up. When you start thinking like this, your memory drops right down and your nerves go so much higher, which affects everything that you say. You start to muddle things up and waffle on. Rather, keep things calm, focus on what you have to say whilst calming down how you say it. Calm the mind, calm the emotions, talk straight.
Trust and communication are an essential part of what we have to do in the virtual world today, the virtual teaming. These complement each other to make a better virtual team for all of the participants on the team and also for the participants involved in the corporation. A virtual team can be very successful if they properly communicate and trust one another. However, proper communication and trust doesn't come without effort and participation from all. Without trust, building a true team is almost impossible, and communication is paramount in an adaptive world and is essential to communication and collaboration. Members don't have the convenience to see each other personally on a regular basis to assess their progress. So they have to believe in one another and trust that work assigned to them will be completed to the set standard times, or it's the two set standards and on time. Trust is such a virtual part of a successful virtual world, and without it, a virtual team would crumble. Trust acts as the backbone to hold a team together from the beginning of a project to the end of a project. Team members have faith in one another to honor their commitments, maintain confidences, support each other, and behave in an acceptable fashion. When we assign tasks to our fellow team members, we are developing a trust with that individual once they complete their tasks assigned to them. Once the bond has been made, individuals are expected to deliver on the promises they made to their team. When the team sees that the individuals perform their duties as they were prescribed, they develop an even larger trust in that individual. If the person fails to hold up their end of the bargain, the team will lose trust in the individual, which can lead to other group problems regarding reliability and commitment. Once that bond or trust is broken, it's quite difficult to gain it back. The team will constantly be worried about one another's miscue from that individual, which brings resentment and anxiety to a group.
Well, with the loss of trust, the team has to find its balance again. It has to reset itself, and they have to try to do it without wasting as much time, because the time that they waste trying to regain that balance, they're going to lose a chance to be productive and be efficient. And it's like the picture that we have up there. You have a runner who stumbles on this path. It has to regain itself and regain its balance. So with that, they have to regain and refocus. So the way that the team could regain its trust is by communication. Communication and trust, they go hand in hand. So with that, the group members, if they improve their communication and they have the trust, they'll be able to build stronger relationships. They'll be able to discuss their work together, and they'll be able to brainstorm more effectively, which they would need for their ideas and to be able to complete the project, and they'll be able to seek their team norms. With the team norms, you have, they'll be able to set their agendas, use a calendar as for scheduling and to set their deadlines and their milestones. Another thing they could use for the norms is to be able to set the hierarchy, who's the leader, and the leader could resolve the issues. And the big thing would be, how would they communicate? Would they would have to set the protocols, how they communicate with emails, phone calls, video conferencing, web conferencing. They have to set the standard on how they're going to communicate, so everything goes well. So Stewart, Madison, and Sims Jr., they wrote that effective communication skills are required for enacting almost all social and emotional roles. So with that, they have to set the roles, would they set the norms, and be able to set how they're going to communicate, which would be very important, because without the communication, they would not be able to, things would start to break down. And with poor communication, you have no direction, no cause, and no purpose. So basically, you'd have a team that really would not be able to do what they need to do. So what they have to do in the end, they would have to make sure that they set the proper standards of communication, open the lines of communication, so that they'll be able to build the relationships that they need, the strong relationships within the group, and be able to build the trust, which is very much needed in any type of team, even if it's virtual or not. But being that it's a virtual team, it's very, very important to have real strong lines of communication so that they could build this trust and this relationship that they need.
Okay, like Carlos said, in a virtual team, you're not face-to-face. You don't see everybody every day. Maybe you never see them. If ever, maybe you're across the country and you're trying to meet and trying to have conversations with each other. So it's very important that communication takes place and people understand what's going on. So basically, the three major ways you're going to communicate with somebody if you're not face-to-face is going to be through email, video conferencing, or phone conferencing, phone calls. Okay. So the first one, probably the most common, would be emails. And email is great because it's good, quick to the point. You can get through something really quickly. Say, I can send something to Joe and I say, hey, Joe, I need this done. And 10 minutes later, he can send me something back and say, okay, I got it done. However, another problem with that would be if I send an email to Joe, Joe maybe doesn't send it back to me quickly because maybe Joe doesn't check his email. Also, I'm the one that's guilty of that. If anybody in this group, it's not Joe, it's me. So anyway, also with emails, it's difficult to decipher or your emotions, whether you're being sarcastic or not. Obviously, in emails, you can't be sarcastic. You know, oh, hey, Shelly, that PowerPoint was really awesome. Well, and it was, by the way, it's really good. But in an email, if you put that PowerPoint's really awesome, it reads like, hey, that PowerPoint was really awesome. Also, you got to avoid all caps. Say I'm emailing Connie, and I say, hey, Connie. If I put in all caps, it'd be, hey, Connie! So we kind of got to avoid that, too, because it's shouting. People read that as shouting. So I'm trying to liven it up here a little bit. So like I said, conversations can be taken the wrong way, and you could come off acting like a jerk like I just did. So there you go. Phone conversations. A little easier because you have that tone. You can read somebody's tone in their voice when they're telling you. Like I said, I did that sarcastic bit with Shelly. You know, you can read that sarcasm in their voice. You can tell if they're serious or if they're relaxed. Most of the time I'm relaxed on the phone. So However, you're still missing out on body language. You know, the eye rolls, the eyebrow raise, that kind of stuff. The hand gestures like I'm doing here. And you also lack the presence of eye contact, looking somebody in the eye and telling, or figuring out if you're actually telling the truth or if they're just kind of lying to you or what's going on. So, and now I'm going to hand it over to Joe. He's going to talk about video conferencing.
Video conferencing is great because it allows groups to communicate and to work together from either small distances or to even large distances across the world. We use some video conferencing for some of our group meetings. Instead of getting together on campus or things like that, we would just do kind of online interactions with each other, and that would help through getting through projects and things like that. It's great for the distance learning, where one group could be here and another group could be somewhere else, and you can still get the things that you want done without necessarily being right in front of each other. Some benefits here to video conferencing is you can feel like you're sitting in a room with your group members when you could be across the world or across the globe, or I guess the state, if in our case it's across the city and just Champaign, but it allows you to communicate over greater distances. Communication regarding virtual teams and conferences is best because members can spend more time working together if they can communicate and they can come together with things and can agree on things. It allows for more time to work if you can communicate well, and it deters stress because everybody knows kind of what's expected of them, and things are kind of clear cut as opposed to being kind of vague and ambiguous. Problems arise regarding communication if teams can't sort things out. As a team, if they can't work out things together, then communication issues can arise, and you need to have careful planning and implementation must go into your virtual teams. So wrapping things up, virtual teams are really great for getting things done over distances, and trust and communication are the two main aspects that go into that. Trust can be developed from communication to make a stronger team, and a virtual team can be assembled and forced to operate in the workplace without trust and proper communication, but these things make for a successful virtual team. Some references. We were going to have a nice game for you, but obviously as time is not allowing us to do that tonight.
Not the emotion. Understand that you're going to feel something in your body. Try to acknowledge the fact that, okay, everyone's got nerves and that's okay. Focus on what you have to say. In martial arts, they akin this to one of two different things. Focus on the strike, but also watch how you do it. In fact, look at the
Our talk tonight is on trust and communication.
Stop worrying about what people think of you. When you're under pressure, people go through one of two mindsets of trying to get their message across, at the same time worrying, what are they going to think? Am I going to be good enough? Are they going to like what I'm going to say? Am I confident? One of the great destroyers of people's ability to communicate straight is that they're worried about what are they going to think.
In the virtual world, I'm Shelly.
I'm Carlos.
I'm Andrew.
And I'm Joe.
We're going to start tonight with just a real short video. Go ahead.
I think I'm okay. All this worry about whether people like you or not is going to destroy your ability to talk straight. The challenge you're going to have is how do I get my message across clearly and confidently and try to quiet that little part of me that's always saying, make sure you say this or don't stuff it up. The key here is to focus on the message.